There's a satisfying consensus that we should all be grateful to the Conservative Party in these most perilous of times for offering us the stability and the unity that we will all depend on these most difficult days with our partners in Europe. Because as soon as you hear the words Conservatives and Europe together, stability and unity are the next words that just flow through the mind. It's why Boris Johnson whispering Conservatives and Europe is used in meditation tapes to keep people calm. After all, it was a Conservative Prime Minister who gave us this stability by calling a referendum to silence his own enemies and then accidentally losing it, ruining Britain's 50-year-long economic strategy, and then resigning with his mate from Eton due to take over, but then he got knifed by someone else who then in turn got dumped by some other faction, leaving a woman who'd spent years telling us we had to stay in Europe, in charge of saying we have to leave Europe. I mean, you can't get more stable than that. This is why the Prime Minister embodies the consistent thinking that all sensible people agree is absolutely essential if we're to get ourselves through these difficult times, as well as her views on Europe being absolutely consistent throughout the years that we should either stay or leave, but definitely one or the other. She's now held a similarly consistent view on the attitude towards holding this general election. Statements such as, of course we're not holding an election, no, definitely no, how many times? No, bloody election, no, sodding poxy, no, with 50 exclamation marks. I'd rather wet myself in public with Michael Gove on the green outside Parliament on BBC One live than call an election. No! There won't be an election, were carefully phrased so that she could subtly hold the election without really contradicting herself. Even then, she insists that she only changed her mind in the end because she went on a walking holiday and had another think. And that's a sign of true leadership, to be able to adjust your strategy in the face of momentous events, such as having a wander through the woods. So it's the Labour Party that's seen as chaotic over the issue of Europe because not all of their MPs were on the same side in the referendum, whereas the Conservatives have only ever brought down 93 of their leaders over the issue of Europe, and even then it's been pretty amicable. So you can guarantee that whatever Theresa May comes back with from her Brexit negotiations, all her MPs will agree with it, maybe even adding little helpful amendments such as Clause 19, Subclause B, Subclause 2314. We don't want your foreign cars anyway. Similarly, we can be certain that this election will show Britain off at its finest with proud democratic debate. The Conservatives have already brought back Linton Crosby, their strategist from last time, so you know that within a couple of days the newspapers will be full of stories like Corbyn says he'll force Dame Vera Lynn to become Muslim, Corbyn to introduce women-only gravity, men will be forced to float, Corbyn to insist that one seat on the board of every major company is reserved for a bird of prey to replenish the stocks of ospreys, Corbyn to abolish the Navy and replace it with spring onions. Then at some point there'll be a newspaper story that goes, the shape of Corbyn's arse shows that he's not to be trusted on Europe. Britain's leading arseologist, who has successfully studied over 40 arses across Britain, has proved that there is a link between the shape of someone's arse and their ability not to surrender in trade talks with the Spanish. This must be why most of the coverage so far suggests there's not even going to be an election at all, really. You get reports that start with lines such as, the Prime Minister has decided that on June the 8th she will decide how big a majority she has in the House of Commons. Early indications are that she will decide to have a majority of around 210, though she may change her mind as she's going for a stroll by the lake. Theresa May might even persuade the TV companies that as she's certain to win, the debate should be between herself before and after she's been for a walk. So she'll start off by supporting the European single market and extra funding for the NHS, then she'll go for a stroll by the canal and back and come back and disagree with everything she said in the first half, and then Sky News will report that opinion shows that the before walk Theresa won, and Channel 4 will dispute the figures, and there might even be one debate where she goes for a swim as well and comes back supporting the armed wing of the Animal Liberation Front. So in these circumstances, maybe Labour's best hope is to just stick to a couple of definite policies, like nationalising the railways or making bankers' bonuses be decided by an episode of Deal or No Deal. Or they could insist that the main reason for voting Labour is that if Labour won, it would be funny, because the entire establishment, the stock market, the press, Everybody assumes that Theresa May is going to win by about 80%. So if she lost, it'd just be hilarious. It'd be like when Leicester won the league, or if a rhino accidentally won Crufts. Peter Mandelson would have to pretend that he was really happy that Labour had won until he started hyperventilating and Dimbleby grabbed his head and put it between his knees to stop him fainting and being sick. And then Jeremy Corbyn would have to go and meet Donald Trump, which could be on pay-per-view, and the amount raised would fund the health service for years. This is their best chance to make little films that go on the telly and say, this is a party political broadcast on behalf of the Labour Party. It'd be hilarious, wouldn't it? Go on. They'd be ahead in the polls by Sunday.